Captain Elena Martinez had made many mistakes in her 12 years serving aboard the ISS Harmony, but agreeing to host the Crenari ambassador's Children for Cultural Exchange dinner might have been her biggest one yet. The two Crenari cubs sat at her modest dining table, their scaled tails wrapped politely around the chair legs, watching her with those unsettling golden eyes that tracked every movement. Their species was apex predators on their homeworld, standing 7 feet tall when fully grown, with retractable claws and teeth designed for rending flesh. These two were only adolescents, barely 5 feet tall, but Elena could already see the hunters they would become. "The meal was most satisfactory, human Elena," chirped Zix, the elder of the two cubs. His translator collar rendered his growling speech into crisp English. "Your species has remarkable skill in combining plant matter with protein." "Yeah, spaghetti and meatballs is pretty universal," Elena said, wiping her own mouth with a napkin. She'd been nervous about cooking for them, but the Crenari were surprisingly omnivorous despite their predatory nature. "I'm glad you enjoyed it." The younger cub, Kayla, tilted her head in that peculiar way that reminded Elena of a curious raptor. "We observed that after meals, humans perform a cleansing ritual with the eating vessels. We wish to participate. It would be educational." Elena blinked. The cubs wanted to help wash dishes. That was unexpectedly sweet. Most species she'd encountered viewed manual labor as beneath diplomatic guests. "Oh, you don't have to do that. You're my guests." "But we insist," Zix said, standing up with enthusiasm that made his tail thump against the wall. "Our parent guardian instructed us to fully immerse ourselves in human customs. We have watched many human data streams. We understand this washing of dishes is a bonding ritual." "Well, I wouldn't call it a ritual exactly, but sure, why not?" Elena stood, gathering plates. "It'll be fun." The first sign of trouble came when both cubs insisted on carrying the entire stack of dishes at once. Elena watched nervously as they gripped the plates with their clawed hands, holding them in a precarious tower that swayed with each step. "Maybe just a few at a time," Elena suggested. "We are capable," Kayla assured her, just as the top 3 plates began sliding. The cub's reflexes were incredible. She released the bottom plates, letting them clatter onto the counter, while snatching the falling dishes from mid-air. Unfortunately, this meant the bottom plates landed with enough force to crack one. "Oops," Kayla said, staring at the broken ceramic. This vessel was weak. "It's okay. Accidents happen." Elena picked up the pieces, noting the clean break. At least it wasn't shattered. "Let's get you set up at the sink." The sink presented its own challenges. The Crenari cubs were fascinated by the running water, sticking their clawed hands directly into the stream and chittering with delight. "It's warm. Human Elena, your ship provides warm water on demand. This is luxury beyond measure." "Yeah, well, hot water heaters are pretty standard," Elena said, reaching for the dish soap. "Okay, so you squirt a little of this soap into the water, and then—" Zix grabbed the bottle from her hand with lightning speed. "We understand. Apply the cleansing foam." Before Elena could stop him, the cub squeezed the entire bottle into the sink. A mountain of bubbles erupted instantly, spilling over the edge and onto the floor. The cubs jumped back, hissing in surprise, their tails puffed up to twice their normal size. "By the great hunt, it multiplies!" Kayla yelled, swatting at the bubbles. Her claws popped out instinctively, shredding through the foam and accomplishing nothing except spreading it further. "No, no, it's just soap!" Elena lunged for the faucet, turning off the water before the bubble situation got worse. "You only need a tiny bit, like a drop or two." The cubs looked at each other, then back at the bubble mountain that now covered half her counter and was oozing toward the floor like some kind of sudsy alien organism. "This is a teaching moment," Zix declared sagely, nodding to his sister. "Humans use minimal amounts of the cleansing foam. We have learned." Right. Learning. Elena grabbed a towel, trying to scoop bubbles back into the sink. Why don't you start actually washing the plates? Just take one, scrub it gently with this sponge and rinse it off. Kayla picked up the sponge, examining it with deep suspicion. This is soft. How does soft material remove food particles? Our species uses rough stones or sand. It's designed for delicate surfaces. Just trust me, okay? Gentle circles. The young Crinari selected a plate and began scrubbing with what she clearly believed was appropriate gentleness. To Elena's horror, her claws extended slightly with each circular motion, leaving deep scratches across the ceramic surface. Within seconds, the plate looked like it had been attacked by a miniature wolverine. "Kayla, your claws!" The cub looked down, finally noticing the damage. "Oh, these extend when we apply pressure. It is involuntary." She held up the plate proudly. "But see, all food particles have been removed, and these grooves will help prevent the plate from being slippery when wet. We have improved it." Elena took the destroyed plate wordlessly, setting it aside. She had 8 more just like it. She'd probably have 0 after this. Meanwhile, Zix had discovered the sprayer attachment on the faucet. "Human Elena, what is the purpose of this weapon?" "It's not a weapon, it's for rinsing." Elena reached for it, but Zix was already squeezing the trigger. A jet of water shot across the kitchen, hitting the opposite wall with impressive force. Zix yelped in surprise, his grip tightening, which only made the spray more erratic. Water arced across the ceiling, the floor, the windows, and directly into Kayla's face. The female cub shrieked, dropping the plate she'd been washing directly into the sink full of bubbles. It disappeared beneath the foam with a sad splash. Zix spun around, still squeezing the sprayer, now hosing down Elena's dinner table, chairs, and the decorative plant she'd been keeping alive for 3 months. "Let go of the trigger!" Elena shouted, diving for the cub. She grabbed his wrist, forcing his finger off the trigger. The water stopped, leaving her kitchen looking like a small typhoon had passed through. Both cubs stood dripping wet, their scales slicked down, making them look oddly smaller. Their tails drooped, dragging through the puddles on the floor. "We have failed the dishwashing ritual," Kala said mournfully. "We are bringing shame to our parent guardian." Elena surveyed the damage. Water everywhere, bubbles still multiplying slowly in the sink. 1 broken plate, 1 scratched beyond use, and at least 3 more still buried in the foam. Her floor was soaked. The ceiling was dripping. She should be angry. This was exactly the kind of disaster she'd worried about when agreeing to this dinner. But looking at the 2 dejected cubs, their ears flat against their skulls, their tails tucked between their legs, she couldn't help but remember being young and enthusiastic and absolutely terrible at helping with chores. "You didn't fail," Elena said, grabbing more towels. "You just learned that human dishes are different from Crinari ones, and that dish soap is very concentrated, and that the sprayer is not in fact a weapon." "But your habitat is flooded," Zix protested. "We have destroyed your territory." "It's just water. It'll dry." Elena handed them each a towel. "Here, help me mop this up. That's the actual final part of human dishwashing that nobody talks about, cleaning up the mess." The cubs perked up slightly. "There is more to learn?" "Always. Now watch carefully. We push the water toward the drain here, using these towels. No claws, just gentle pushing." For the next 20 minutes, the 3 of them worked on mopping up the kitchen. The cubs proved much better at this task, possibly because it involved less fine motor control and more sweeping motions that came naturally to their powerful limbs. They attacked the water with the same intensity they probably hunted prey, driving every last drop toward the drain with focused determination. "You see?" Kayla said triumphantly, wringing out her towel into the sink. "We are capable of human rituals. We have absorbed the water back into the proper container." "Sure, that's one way to put it." Elena fished the last plates out of the bubble pile, rinsing them herself while the cubs watched intently. The key lesson here is that humans use very specific tools, very gently. Our dishes aren't as strong as Krynari ones. Because humans are not as strong as Krynari, Zix said matter-of-factly. This makes sense. You build your tools to match your strength level. It is efficient. That's actually pretty insightful. Elena dried the last plate, amazed it had survived. Okay, dishes are done. Mission accomplished. The cubs chittered happily. Bumping their heads together in what she'd learned was a gesture of celebration. We have successfully completed human bonding ritual. Parent guardian will be pleased. A chime at the door announced, said parent guardian's arrival. Ambassador Thex was an imposing figure, nearly scraping the ceiling of Elena's quarters, her scales a deeper green than her children's younger bronze. Her golden eyes swept the kitchen, taking in the damp floor, the pile of towels, the empty soap bottle, and her two dripping offspring. I see the cultural exchange was vigorous, Thex said dryly. I trust my cubs did not destroy too much of your dwelling. Only one plate and my dignity, Elena said, but they were very enthusiastic learners. We learned that human dish soap is highly concentrated, Zix announced proudly, and that human dishes are delicate and require gentle handling. And that the spraying weapon must be respected, Kayla added. Thex's expression softened in what Elena had learned to recognize as Krynari amusement. It sounds like you learned much indeed. Did you thank human Elena for her patience? Both cubs dipped their heads formally. Thank you, human Elena, for allowing us to participate in your customs. We will remember this experience for many cycles. You're welcome. Just maybe practice on your own dishes next time before trying human ones. After the ambassador and cubs departed, Elena stood in her kitchen, looking at the water stains still visible on the ceiling, the scratched plate that would need replacing, and the pile of soaked towels. Tomorrow, she'd have to report to maintenance about the soggy plant and the minor flooding damage. But she was smiling. Her communication console beeped with a message from Ambassador Thex. It was brief but warm. My cubs have not stopped talking about the dishwashing experience. They believe humans are the bravest species in the galaxy for trusting predator cubs with delicate objects. You have made a profound impression on their understanding of cross-species cooperation. Also, I am sending compensation for the destroyed dishware. Thex. Elena laughed, typing back a quick response, accepting the thanks, but declining the compensation. One broken plate was a small price for the look of pure joy on those cubs' faces when they'd successfully mopped up the water. Besides, she'd learned something too. The galaxy was full of apex predators, species that could tear through steel with their bare hands, hunt in packs with terrifying efficiency, and intimidate through sheer physical presence. But put them in front of a sink full of dishes, and they were just kids trying their best to help out, enthusiastic and clumsy and earnest. That was the real human specialty, Elena thought as she hung up the last towel to dry. Not being the strongest or the fastest or the most dangerous, but being patient enough, adaptable enough, and maybe just crazy enough to hand fragile plates to predator cubs and hope for the best. The galaxy needed that kind of crazy. Her floor, however, needed to fully dry before she attempted walking across it without slipping. She tested it with one foot, felt it squelch, and sighed. Worth it.